What's up YouTube, Trashy here, and today we have something a little different but also the same. This here is a compilation of all 4 of my seasonal Stardew Valley tips and tricks videos neatly packaged into one. The ultimate list of tips for your entire first year in Stardew Valley, all in one easily accessible spot, and apparently also great to put on while you work or even while you fall asleep, or so I've been told. So sit back, relax, and enjoy over an hour of seasonally appropriate tips for your Stardew Valley playthroughs. Or get some good rest if you're here to fall asleep. Sweet dreams, I think. Quick side note, these were some of my first ever videos, which is kind of evident in the editing, so yeah, keep that in mind when the audio quality changes here in a second. Okay, I'll see you guys on the other side. Enjoy.
The first big decision you'll be making is which farm layout you should choose. There are 8 different farms available to choose from, and each one is more or less geared towards different skills or aspects of the game. Depending on the farm that you choose, you might have an easier time gathering forageables or fish for the community center, or you might struggle due to the lack of space for crops. You might even mistakenly choose the farm that spawns monsters at night for your first ever farm and think that your game is bugged, so you restart it and choose the same farm because you like the layout, but then the monsters spawn again, so you just don't play the game for a year and then realize your stupid mistake and go on to play like 1,000 hours of the game. Maybe. I mean, I don't know anyone silly enough to do that. Lucky for you, I've already made a video where I do a deep dive into the pros and cons of each of the 8 farm layouts, including the 1.6 editions, which you can check out on my channel. I will leave the video somewhere here on the screen or in the description. It's somewhere, you can find it. One of your biggest concerns in the early game is going to be energy management. Early game Stardew can be brutal when it comes to how quickly your energy levels drain, and I think the game is trying to tell us that we're super out of shape when we get to the valley. A full day in Stardew Valley from 6 AM to 2 AM is just under 15 minutes long in real time if you stay up all day and don't do anything that pauses the game. Of course, this can be longer depending on pausing, looking in chests, talking to villagers, eating food, etc. It might not sound like a long time, but in early game Stardew, it's incredibly easy to use up all of your energy way before the end of the day. But no worries, there are a few things that you can do to make this easier on yourself. In Cindersap Forest, the area to the south of your farm, you can find spring onions. And unlike the rest of the forageables around the valley, these spring onions respawn in different quantities every single day during the spring, so you can stop here in the mornings for some snacks and keep your energy up during the day. Plus, from spring 15th to 18th, the bushes around the valley spawn salmon berries. It's only a few days, but you can get tons of these berries if you look for them, and they can be super useful for extra energy and healing in the mines. Aside from this, you can find the usual spring forageables around the valley, but keep in mind that they accumulate during the week and reset when you sleep on Saturday. So if you haven't done your weekly foraging by Saturday, anything that you missed will be gone. It's also worth noting that if you pass out due to exhaustion or at 2 AM when the day ends, you will receive a penalty to your energy the next day, and you will be billed 10% of your total gold up to 1,000 gold. However, if you level up a skill during the day, you can pass out without the energy penalty. This can be handy to keep in mind if you want to make the most out of a fishing day, for example. If you manage your money and pass out after leveling up in the same day with very little in the bank, which is pretty easy at the start of the game, let's be honest, there's practically no downsides to staying awake until 2 AM. Next up, we have inventory management. When you start your farm, you only have 12 inventory slots. Considering that you'll be bringing some tools around with you at all times, this isn't really ideal. Until you can make enough money to upgrade your bag to a bigger one, or even if you have the upgrades on your little loot goblin like me, you can always craft and place chests around the valley in convenient spots. You can slap a chest down near your preferred fishing spot, and when you start to fill up, just empty your inventory out and keep going. Likewise, you can place a chest at the exit of the mines and deposit whatever you need. You can even put a couple of furnaces here to speed up the smelting process while you explore the mines, stopping to refill them when you reach an elevator. If you wanted to, you could put a chest outside of Clint's and store some bars in there so that you never get there right before he closes and realize that you don't have what you need to upgrade your tool. I am totally not speaking from experience here. Next, I want to talk a little bit about fishing. I know that there is a big divide in the community between people that love to fish and people that hate it, and if you fall into the latter category, I feel you. I used to hate fishing in Stardew too. You start with such a small bar and all of the fish are insanely hard to catch, and it just drove me insane. But then I discovered the training rod. When Willy first gives you the fishing rod on day 2, what you should do is instantly trash it and buy a training rod for 25 gold instead. The training rod will make your life so much easier. While it can only catch normal quality basic fish and it can't hold bait or tackles, It makes the fishing bar as big as if you were already level 5 fishing, it slows down the progress bar depletion the same amount as a trap bobber, and it has a 10% higher spawn rate for fish. You might be thinking that normal quality basic fish don't sell for much, and you're not wrong, but this rod makes it much easier to execute perfect catches, which give 2.4 times as much experience as normal catches. By using this rod, you can easily go from levels 1 to 5 fishing in just a few in-game days, and you can afford to buy yourself a fiberglass rod and some bait starting at level 2 for better fishing. Once I started doing this on my playthroughs, fishing became a lot more bearable and started making me some very good money during the early days of the game, especially if you manage to show restraint and wait until level 5 to sell most of your fish. If you choose the fisher profession at level 5, your fish will be worth 25% more. In fact, since the recent 1.6 update, you can now buy a fish smoker recipe from Willy for 10,000 gold, and it costs 1 sea jelly, 1 river jelly, 1 cave jelly, and some hardwood to make. Fish smokers double the price of your fish, and this price stacks later on with your chosen professions, such as angler and artisan, eventually making for almost 3 times the sell price. If you choose to play on the river farm, you actually start with one of these bad boys for free, which is massive for those looking to make a lot of money early on. Another decision that you will have to make at some stage is whether to do the community center or to sign up to JojaMart. These are basically the 2 ways to advance the story of the game and unlock access to new areas. The community center involves collecting and donating many different items over the course of the game to unlock upgrades for the town and your farm, while JojaMart simply allows you to buy these upgrades for the price of some gold and maybe your soul. If you'd like to know more about the differences between choosing JojaMart and choosing the community center, I also happen to have a video on that exact subject, which should be somewhere on the screen right about now or somewhere below in the description. Moving on, let's talk about relationships. Relationships in Stardew Valley work on a hidden point system. You get points for talking to villagers every day, choosing certain answers in specific cutscenes, and giving them gifts. More points for loved and liked gifts, and points deducted for disliked gifts. You also get a big multiplier for gifts given on villagers' birthdays, which you can check at the calendar outside of Pierre's, and you'll lose a very small amount of friendship over time with villagers that you don't talk to. So if you're invested in befriending everyone, make sure to make some time for chit-chat when you see them. If you open up your menu and go to your relationship screen, you can see on each villager's card the liked and loved gifts that you've given them, and sometimes certain dialogues or events in the game will give you more information that will also appear here. It's also worth mentioning that every now and then, villagers from Pelican Town will post help wanted requests to the board outside Pierre's shop. Now, I've seen a lot of new players stress over these quests, and some of them even stop playing the game because of the perceived pressure, because they usually ask for some pretty specific items and they're time sensitive. However, I'm here to tell you not to sweat it. None of these help wanted quests give you unique items. They're mainly designed for quick friendship boosts and easy money if you have the time for the request, but they're not essential. Since the Stardew Valley 1.6 update, you can also get prize tickets as rewards for these requests, which are slightly more enticing as they can unlock unique items, but failing to complete one of these quests or ignoring it altogether if you don't feel like it won't cause you to miss out on anything other than the prize ticket from the reward, but you can still get them later on. Think of these requests as something extra to do around the valley if you have the time or if you're invested in friendships or need a little extra money. Speaking of extra money, a choice that you might have to make during your first spring is what to put in the cave on your farm. Once you have made a total of 25,000 gold, Demetrius will stop by and ask if you want to repurpose the old cave on your farm for either fruit bats or to house mushrooms. There's an argument to be made for each of these caves as they both have their own benefits. The fruit bat cave gives you a slow but steady supply of fruit, even out of their respective seasons, such as foraged berries and fruit from trees. This is useful for various reasons. You can complete certain bundles in the community center much earlier without having to buy fruit tree saplings and wait for them to grow, and tree fruit are universally liked gifts. Plus, you can turn the fruit into artisan goods down the road as you advance the game. On the other hand, the mushroom cave produces, you guessed it, mushrooms. While it might not sound as useful as the other cave initially, depending on your playstyle, it might even be better. Certain types of mushrooms can be hard to get, and this cave has a chance to spawn mushrooms specific to the mines. It's also more reliable and productive than the fruit cave, as these 6 mushroom boxes respawn shrooms every 2 days if emptied, whereas the fruit bat cave works more on chance and percentages to decide if fruit spawns or not. You can also use 4 of the 5 types of mushroom that spawn here to make yourself some life elixirs if you like to frequent the mines, and after the 1.6 update, the mushroom cave comes with a free dehydrator. The dehydrator makes mushrooms, dried fruit, and raisins, taking 5 of each to produce just 1. And while it does use more resources than kegs and jars and produces much less profit, it only takes a day to finish processing and still turns a small profit as long as you use silver quality or less. And the recipe costs 10,000 to buy from Pierre, so getting one of these for free is a big bonus. At the end of the day, both the fruit bat and the mushroom cave can be super useful. It just depends on the kind of playthrough you're looking for. Fruit bats for easy, universally liked gifts and an easier time with certain community center bundles, and mushrooms for a steadier stream of extra money. Let's talk about tools. No, I didn't mean that one. You start the game with the most basic version of all of the tools that you need, and while they do the job, they're not that good and they use up a lot of energy for what they do. Each tool can be upgraded 4 times in this order: copper, steel, gold, and iridium, and each upgrade requires 5 copper, iron, gold, or iridium bars and a sum of money that increases with the upgrades. Once you're able to access the mines, you should focus on stocking up on copper ore so that you can smelt copper bars and be ready to upgrade your tools when the time is right. But when is the time right? Well, Clint takes 2 days to upgrade your tools, not counting festivals, so if you want to be as efficient as possible, you should time your upgrades properly. For example, the watering can is best upgraded after watering your crops and on a day when you know that it's going to rain the next day so that your plants are watered. Then you can get it back on the second day without missing a beat. Get it? I'm sorry, I apologize, that was terrible. Anyway, what I'm saying is plan out your upgrades accordingly and it will make your life much easier. It's also worth noting that the 1.6 update now allows you to access Clint's shop for opening geodes, buying resources, and selling items while he's still upgrading a tool, which is massive. Speaking of upgrading your tools, you are going to need to get your hands on a lot of ore to do this, and the mines is where you'll be going. There are a total of 120 floors in the mines with elevators that you unlock every 5 floors, and a lot of people rush the mines and try to get to the bottom as soon as possible. While reaching the bottom unlocks the key to the Skull Cavern and the ability to play Junimo Kart, 2 equally as stressful things, unless you unlock the bus stop first or are a Junimo Kart addict like me, you really don't need to rush it at all. In fact, taking the mines slowly during your first few days can often be the better play in the long run. Stocking up on ore to upgrade your tools and for other crafting recipes is ridiculously easy thanks to how the mines work. When you leave through the ladder, all of the floors reset, which means that you can keep combing over the same floors as many times as you want and get yourself some easy copper ore by just leaving the mines and going back in using the elevator. Just remember to bring along some food for energy and healing because mining can be an exhausting job and these little annoying bugs can be a real pain in the early game. Aside from ore, wood is something that you are going to need a lot of in Stardew Valley. Whether it's for crafting reasons, for quests, or for farm buildings, it's a resource that you are always going to need. The trees around the valley grow back if you remove them completely, so they're a decent supply of wood. And while cutting down every single tree on your farm within your first few days might seem tempting, hear me out. On your very first day, you should not be cutting down any more trees than is necessary to hit level 1 foraging, which is around 9 or 10 trees, because they don't start dropping seeds until you hit level 1 foraging. Once you've hit level 1, you should begin to get seeds when you chop down trees. You can use these seeds to regrow more trees for more wood in the future, and you can also keep a few of them and make yourself a small tapping area for oak, resin, and pine. And the earlier you start this process, the better, trust me. Keeping the cycle going is pretty essential to avoid deforestation in Stardew Valley, and it also keeps you pretty well stocked in wood. And you can also plant trees anywhere you want in the valley aside from in town, so you can always restock by planting outside of your farm and saving space. This next one isn't as much a tip as it is a reminder. There are 2 festivals during your first spring, the Egg Festival and the Flower Dance, unless you manage to unlock the bus before Spring 15th, in which case you will also have access to the Desert Festival. The Egg Festival is on the 13th, and it is one of the only places that you can buy strawberry seeds, the most profitable spring crop. However, they take 8 days to grow, and then keep producing every 4 days after that, so you'll only get 2 harvests out of them by the time summer rolls around, and they take some time to make money. If you're patient and don't mind the wait, strawberry seeds can be a nice extra flow of cash towards the end of the month, and each seed costs 100 gold, so make sure to save up before the Egg Festival if you want to buy some. Also, if you beat Abigail at the egg hunt for the first time, you'll get a cute straw hat for your troubles. The next festival is the Flower Dance on the 24th, and there's nothing too fancy here, some decorations at Pierre's stand, and the chance to dance with a bachelor or bachelorette. However, you need 4 hearts with them or they will reject your offer. 4 hearts with any villager before Spring 24th is almost impossible, but it is doable if you are super invested. If you talk to them every single day and you manage to complete a help wanted request for them from Pierre's board, gift them a lot of high quality liked items or loved items, you might just get there. For example, Haley and Shane are easier to get to 4 hearts because they have birthdays before the dance, and birthday gifts get a whopping 8 times multiplier. If dancing with someone at the flower dance is your main objective, it will be a bit of a grind, so keep in mind that it will take a lot of time from your other day-to-day activities. This next festival isn't really a festival, it's more of a hidden event that was added in 1.6. On spring 17th, if you go to this area in Cindersap Forest, south of your farm, you can find a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. It's St. Patrick's Day. Interacting with the pot of gold will give you 200 gold and a leprechaun hat. Fun fact about this event is that it happens every single year, and the amount of gold that you can get increases by 25 gold per year until year 93, when it caps at 2,500 gold. Another event added in 1.6 that you'll have to keep your eyes peeled for is the bookseller. The bookseller visits town on 2 days of every season, and you can check which days he's going to be visiting on the calendar outside of Pierre's to plan ahead and make sure that you have some money set aside for that day. He sells books that give you experience in different skills, books that increase your speed, books that let you see the sell price of your items, and a bunch more, so be sure to plan ahead and check him out whenever he's visiting. Speaking of planning ahead, let's talk about perfection. Perfection is Stardew Valley's version of completion, and it involves a long list of requirements such as shipping every crop, cooking every recipe, crafting every item, maxing out friendship with every single villager, and more. However, there is another way to obtain perfection. Much later on in the game, you will unlock access to a shady salesman added in 1.6 who can sell you perfection slips for those that have the cash to spare. If you're not committed to doing a true perfection run, I say this in quotations because play the game however you want, perfection is perfection, and if you have buckets of cash in the late game, you really don't need to worry quite as much about working towards perfection from the get-go. And last but not least, here are some random tips that didn't really fit into any other category, so I decided to just put them here at the end of the video. You can use this button here to check community center bundles even when you're not in the community center, and it will do a little wiggle when you hover over something in your inventory that belongs in a bundle. Turning the advanced crafting option on allows you to see how many of a certain item you've crafted plus how many you can craft with what's in your inventory. We mentioned it briefly before, but getting an early oak resin farm going means that you can craft kegs much easier in the late game, and while 1.6 has introduced new money-making methods, mass-producing wine from kegs is still one of the best ways to make bank. Learn how to hoard. I know it may be tempting to sell everything that you get your hands on to make money, but try and keep at least one of every item you find. You never know when you might need it. And last, but definitely not least, do not be afraid to use the wiki. Stardew Valley is a deceivingly deep game with a lot to remember and keep track of. And if I weren't looking stuff up on the wiki, I probably would have gotten very frustrated with the game very early on. I even used it to double check information for this video. Use the wiki if you need to, there is zero shame in it. And while I'm at it, a massive shout out and thank you to the people that maintain and update the wiki. Y'all are the true MVPs, without you, we would all be lost. First of all, what actually changes from spring to summer? Well, quite a few things. The forageables that you can find change from horseradish, leeks, daffodils, and dandelions to spiceberries, grapes, and sweet peas, and most catchable fish change, with a few that stay consistent from spring, such as catfish during rainy weather. The crops that you can grow on your farm also change, and the dialogue that the villagers can give you around town changes from season to season too. Aside from this, during your first summer, the boulder blocking the upper mountain area is cleared by an earthquake, allowing you to access an entirely new area with a spa and a railroad. Speaking of the spa, let's talk about energy. If you're in your first year, energy is probably still going to be a bit of a struggle, and to be honest, even if you're a few years into your game, any way to replenish energy is a bonus. Not many people might know that you can actually go into the spa in the mountains once it's available and stand in the water to replenish your energy. If you'd like to get a lot done in the morning, or you've given yourself more plants to water than you can handle, just head to the spa for a while and you'll be ready to go in no time. You should also be able to get your hands on 2 star drops this season, which increase your maximum energy by 34 points each, although technically you can get them in spring too if you have a laser focus. You can get 1 star drop from the chest on level 100 of the mines, and another from Krobus's shop in the sewer if you've unlocked access to it. This requires donating 60 items to the museum, which is a wild thing to do in just one season, but it definitely can be done. Let's talk about crops. Ideally, you'll be at least level 6 farming or close to it by the time you reach your first summer in order to craft yourself some quality sprinklers. If you've managed to find and donate 60 items to the museum, Krobus sells iridium sprinklers on Fridays in the sewers for 10,000 gold. Also, quick side note, I've known some people to believe that you can only unlock Krobus' shop after you've had the encounter with the shadow creature in winter, but that's not actually Krobus at all. They are two complete different shadow creatures, or at least it's not confirmed to be Krobus, so yeah, you can actually access his shop at any time as long as you've met the museum requirements. If, for whatever reason, you can't get quality sprinklers, normal sprinklers can also be helpful, but in my opinion, they kind of ruin the entire aesthetic of your farm and cost a lot to make for what they do. I usually skip placing normal sprinklers if I can avoid it because I just don't like how they look, and I try and make sure that my watering can has been upgraded to copper before summer. But what crops should you actually plant? The most profitable crop by far in the summer is starfruit, which you can only buy from Sandy if you've unlocked access to Calico Desert. And they become even more profitable if you have kegs and can process them into wine. If it's your first year, you probably don't have the bus stop unlocked yet, although you might, because at the end of the day, all you need to unlock it is a lot of money, so if you're on that money grind from the start of the game, you might have it unlocked by now. For those that don't have the bus stop unlocked yet, blueberries are ideal. They are incredibly profitable, and although melons technically make more money, blueberries produce multiple berries per bush and you don't need to replant them. They'll keep producing every 4 days until the end of the season. Another favorite crop of mine to plant during the summer is corn. Corn might not be the most profitable of all of the summer crops, but it keeps producing once grown, and it grows during the summer and fall, which means that you can essentially have a stable crop growing and producing on your farm for literally half a year. Speaking of crops, let's talk a little bit more about sprinklers. If you haven't reached level 6 farming yet, you'll be stuck with basic sprinklers, which you can still make work, even if they don't look as nice. They cost a copper bar and an iron bar to make, whereas quality sprinklers, unlocked at level 6, cost 1 iron, 1 gold, and 1 refined quartz bar to make. The best and the easiest way to get all of these materials is obviously to frequent the mines. Like we mentioned in the previous video, exiting via the ladder and re-entering using the elevator causes the mines to reset, so you can take advantage of this to farm for ore and quartz. Quartz is easily found on the early levels of the mines, and fire quartz can be found starting at level 81, with the bonus of producing 3 refined quartz. Also, if you are at least fishing level 4, you can make yourself a recycling machine and throw all of your trash into it for an easy profit. Broken glasses and broken CDs always return refined quartz. Of course, if you are further along in your game, you can make yourself some iridium sprinklers, which would require grinding the Skull Cavern quite a lot. Well, it just so happens that I have a Skull Cavern 1.6 guide designed for people in late game that want to get the most out of their runs. I will leave it somewhere on the screen or in the description down below, and you can check it out if you want to. Let's backtrack a bit and talk about fishing. In our spring tips video, we talked a little bit about fishing and how much of an amazing moneymaker that it is, especially since the 1.6 update with the addition of bait makers and the fish smoker. If you're still struggling with fishing and you're still a low level, even after following the tips in my previous video, there is also something you can do to passively increase your fishing level. Starting at level 3, you can craft crab pots or buy them from Willy. Just put some bait in and the next day you will have caught something. Anything that you catch from crab pots gives 5 fishing experience, whether you've caught trash or an actual fish. Now, here's a chart that I got from the Stardew Valley wiki that details exactly how many crab pots you'd need to harvest to get from one level to the next. And while it's not the most efficient way, you could definitely place a couple of dozen crab pots around for a little extra experience every day, especially if your farm has easy access to water. Now, it might not look pretty, but you can place, let's say, 20 crab pots around your farm and you will get 100 fishing experience every day just like that, as long as you remember to put bait in and to take the fish out or the trash every single day. It's not as fast as actual fishing, but if you hate to fish but you still want to get the experience to eventually get mastery, I feel like this might be a good option. Speaking of fishing, let's talk about a new event added in Stardew 1.6, the Trout Derby. On the 20th and the 21st of summer, you can participate in the Trout Derby down south in Cindersap Forest. The idea behind this event is to catch rainbow trout, which have a chance to give you golden tags which can then be turned in for rewards. Unlike other days, you can catch rainbow trout all day long in Cindersap Forest during the festival, so you have plenty of time to catch as many tags as you need. You can catch any amount of tags limited only to the time that the event lasts for, and you can get a total of 11 different rewards, 10 of which repeat once you've received them all. Plus, you also keep any leftover tags that you haven't used at the end of the event, and they can carry over to the next year, so make sure to keep them stored away. If you've achieved level 6 fishing, you can make yourself a bait maker. Place it down beside you, and once you catch your first rainbow trout, use it to make yourself some rainbow trout bait. Use as many rainbow trout to make bait as you need, because what you're really looking for here are golden tags. Golden tags have a 33% chance to appear with each trout that you catch, and the first golden tag that you turn in will give you a tent kit as a reward, which you can use to sleep right beside the event and wake up the next morning ready to fish as soon as you step out of your tent. A fun fact about the Trout Derby is that it has a couple of interesting dialogues. There's a nod to a very popular Stardew Valley mod called Grampleton Fields, with this fisherman who says, "I came all the way from Grampleton for this." And there's another funny dialogue where if you interact with an annoyed fisherman enough times in a row, he'll say, "Someone's about to get battered, and it ain't the trout." Alright, sir. From one end of the map to the other, let's talk about the railroad. Like we said earlier, if it's your first summer, you will gain access to this area on summer 3rd. And once that happens, trains can randomly pass through Stardew Valley and drop loot if you're there to see it. When a train's about to pass through, you will get this pop-up message in the corner saying a train is passing through Stardew Valley. Now, personally, I find this event one of the most annoying in the entire game because if you're at the opposite end of the map when this happens, you pretty much have to drop everything you're doing and run to the railroad. And even then, it doesn't always drop loot, and when it does, the drops aren't usually that good. I'm unsure exactly how much time you have to get to the railroad when you see the message pop up. I've seen people claim it to be an hour, and some say that it's less, but either way, it's quite the sprint for not much in return, as all of the item drops can be found in other, more reliable ways. Aside from one. Whenever a train drops a resource, it has a 1% chance of dropping leprechaun shoes, a unique item of clothing that's unfortunately only found from train drops. These shoes aren't anything special, they give a +1 to immunity and a +2 to defense, but they are a unique drop and they go perfectly with the leprechaun hat that you can find in spring. Keep in mind that although this area opens up in summer, you might not actually see a single train passing through for an entire year, or you might see 1 or 2 a week. It's entirely random and there's no guarantee that you'll get anything from the train if you even get there. Unless you happen to be nearby at Robin's or close to a minecart if you've unlocked them, or you really want those leprechaun shoes, I think it's kind of a waste of time. Let's talk a bit about a new event added in 1.6, Green Rain. Green Rain happens once every summer, lasting an entire in-game day, and it'll be foreshadowed by a weather forecast message on the TV. This weather causes most villagers to take shelter in the Stardrop Saloon, and you can actually enter every building in the village regardless of the time of day, and you can even enter some villagers' bedrooms without having the necessary heart requirements. You can talk to every villager to get unique dialogue related to the rain, but you can't give them gifts during this event. When green rain happens, it causes a whole lot of special green rain trees, weeds, and moss to spawn around the entire valley, except for the beach and of course Calico Desert where it never rains. This is a great chance to get some massive foraging experience, as well as stock up on wood, moss fiber, and fiddlehead ferns which drop from this specific green rain tree. Whatever you had planned for a green rain day, scratch that and go woodcutting and foraging for the entire day instead. It is incredibly worth it. Moss can be used to make mushroom logs, as well as a very useful late-game item that you unlock after reaching level 10 in everything. Trust me, you'll want to stock up on as much moss as you possibly can. Plus, for every moss that you collect, you'll get 1 foraging experience point, and these big bushes also give 15 experience points each when destroyed. Another super important thing to note about Green Rain is that it gives every single planted seed in the valley a massive chance to fully grow. To understand how this works, we have to understand how trees work. When you plant a seed or a seed falls from a tree, it has to go through 4 stages before it fully grows. Trees have a 20% chance to go to the next stage every single night, except from stage 4 to maturity, which usually takes much longer. However, the night before Green Rain, stage 1 saplings have a 50% chance to go straight to stage 4, and all stage 2 and 3 saplings go straight to stage 4 anyway. And then every single tree affected grows an additional 3 nights worth. This basically means that around half of the trees that you have planted and growing will grow fully on the day of the Green Rain. So make sure to check the weather often during summer if you want to take advantage of this and plant a bunch of saplings before the rain. If you really want to be prepared and make sure that you don't send your axe off for upgrading and miss some valuable foraging, keep in mind that Green Rain can spawn on the 5th, 6th, 7th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 18th, and 23rd of the month, and no other days. Oh, and if you notice that some of the trees on your farm turn into green rain trees, do not worry. Most of them will revert back to normal trees the next day, so your tapper farm shouldn't be too affected. Speaking of foraging, not many people know this, but there is a sort of hidden event on the beach during the summer. From the 12th to the 14th, the ocean water surrounding the beach turns a slight green color and more forageables than usual can be found. Foraged items on the beach only give 7 foraging experience per, so it's not that massive in terms of leveling, but it can make for a little extra money. You can also find rainbow shells on the beach during summer, the only time of year that you can find them, and they make some good money, are a universally liked gift, and they are needed for a key quest down the road, so make sure to keep one. While we're on the topic of the beach, let's talk about the Stardew Valley luau. The luau takes place on the 11th of summer, and you are expected to bring something to add to the community potluck. Mind you, the game doesn't specify that the potluck is actually a soup, so don't make my mistake of bringing a whole dish to the luau your first time, or you won't be able to participate at all. The idea behind this festival is that the governor is visiting and Lewis wants to impress him with a delicious potluck. Depending on what you bring to the potluck, the response from the mayor and the villagers can range from good to neutral to bad. The best response will give you 120 friendship points with every villager, whereas the worst outcome causes you to lose 100 friendship points with every villager. There's also a hidden secret outcome that has 0 effect on friendship levels at all, and is basically just there for a laugh. Try adding Mayor Lewis's shorts to the potluck next time if you can. Pierre's stall also has a bunch of cute decorations available, as well as a normal quality starfruit in case you forgot to bring anything for the potluck. Adding the starfruit will give you the second best response and 60 friendship points with all the villagers. If you want to get technical with it, the governor cares about high quality foods that sell for a lot of gold and restore a lot of health and stamina. So high value silver or gold quality crops or animal produce that have good stats are a guaranteed win. I usually have a gold quality super cucumber sitting around by now, which gives the best response, or some gold cheese, silver goat's cheese, or a gold large milk. Speaking of events, and this one isn't as much a tip as it is a reminder, on the last day of summer you can witness the dance of the moonlight jellies starting at 10 p.m. on the beach. You can talk to all the villagers for unique dialogue and buy some of my favorite unique items of furniture from Pierre's stall, and of course you can witness the actual dance of the moonlight jellies, but that's really all there is to this festival. Now let's talk about planning ahead for those that are in their first summer. If it's your first year and you want to be able to make a lot of money down the line, I highly recommend setting up an oak resin tapper farm during your first couple of seasons. The more, the better. Once you reach level 8 farming, which you might during your first summer if you've farmed enough, you can craft kegs, which require 1 copper bar, 1 iron bar, some wood, and an oak resin. The more kegs that you can make, the more wine that you can produce, and the more money you can make down the line. So starting an oak resin tapper farm and frequenting the mines for iron and copper is a good idea. You should also aim for having your axe upgraded to at least steel by the end of summer so that you can access the secret woods and start farming them for hardwood, which respawns every day. You'll need a lot of hardwood in the mid to late game, so the earlier that you can start farming it, the better. These stumps will drop mahogany seeds, which you can also then plant for even more hardwood. And if you're planning on marrying a villager down the road, or if you want to get started on cooking recipes for perfection, you should probably stock up on some wood and some coin to upgrade your house so that it has a kitchen. Without a kitchen, you can't marry any NPCs as they won't have space to move in. Summer's also a great time to start upgrading your coop and your barn if you haven't already, aiming for the deluxe upgrade with the auto feeder before winter so that your animals are fed every single day, even if you forget. Assuming that you have a silo full of hay, which you definitely should by then. And while you're at Robin's, if you have the money, you should definitely pick up a big chest recipe because it will make your life so much easier. At some stage during your first summer, or maybe even earlier, you will unlock mystery boxes after a cutscene where Mr. Key drops them all around the valley. This can be triggered by one of 2 things. You either collect your first prize ticket or 50 days pass in the valley. So if you haven't collected any prize tickets yet, you should get this cutscene on the night of summer 22nd. After this cutscene, you will start finding mystery boxes when going about your usual activities such as chopping down trees, mining for ore, killing monsters, etc. And you can open up these mystery boxes just like geodes at Clint's, and they contain a long list of items ranging from seeds to cooked dishes to prismatic shards, so they're definitely worth getting your hands on. We talked about prize tickets briefly in the last video, and you can get these by completing quests such as help wanted quests in certain events, and if you've upgraded your axe to copper, you can find a free prize ticket hidden behind the bookseller stand. To use these tickets, just go to Lewis's house and interact with the machine in the corner. The more prize tickets that you use, the better the reward, going from some simple seeds to books to star drop tea, iridium bars, and much more. And last but not least, I do have a correction to make. In my last video, I said that the only benefits of reaching level 120 in the mines was unlocking the key to Skull Cavern and Junimo card. But I missed something. Shout out to Buddy Haas for pointing out that after you hit level 120, all monsters get a 0.05% chance of dropping prismatic shards. Aside from being a universally loved gift for everyone except for Haley for whatever reason, you will want to find at least one prismatic shard as soon as possible because you'll need it to unlock one of the best weapons in the game, the Galaxy Sword. However, this is not the only change that happens in the mines after hitting level 120. From that point onwards, diamonds can also begin to drop from monsters, gems can be found when searching trash cans, some gem drops on certain floors change, making it possible to find any gem on any floor, and monsters also get a little bit of a buff. Monsters get a 50% defense increase, their HP is also increased by a random amount between 0 and 100%, their damage is increased by a random amount between 0 and 50%, and 20 different mine floor layouts can start appearing. So if you do reach level 120 on the mines, make sure to keep this in mind when you go venturing out. So what exactly changes in fall? Well, the most obvious change occurs in the colors around the valley, turning to typical fall colors, which, in my opinion, are the best in the game. And of course, you have foraging, crop, and fishing changes. There is a lot to forage in fall. The main forageables that you can find around the valley are blackberries, common mushrooms, hazelnuts, and wild plums. Plus, you can find red mushrooms and chanterelles in the secret woods. The secret woods requires a steel axe or better to access, and if it's your first year, you should definitely have this upgraded by now. If you don't, now would be a great time to get that started. The biggest change in fall, if it's your first year, is access to the special orders board. On fall 2nd, when you enter Pelican Town, you will get a cutscene with Lewis and Robin putting up the board. Here, you can choose between 2 quests every single Monday to complete for specific rewards. I highly recommend checking the quest board every Monday and doing your best to complete a request for each villager, as they all unlock some pretty good items or recipes the first time you complete them, including the recipe for fiber seeds for easy fiber, the farm computer to easily check on your farm stats, and mini obelisks to quickly teleport around your farm, as well as many more useful things. There is a lot to do this season to prep for winter, and you will want to have as much energy as you possibly can going into it. If you're struggling with energy still during your first year, you can check out my spring and summer videos, which should be on the screen right now or down below in the description, and they have a couple of tips on how to make the most of your energy and how to find a couple of extra star drops. Speaking of star drops, you will want to get your hands on a rare seed as soon as possible. These seeds can be sold at the traveling cart on Fridays and Sundays, but they only grow in fall and they take 24 days to grow. One seed produces 1 sweet gemberry, and they sell for quite a lot, but honestly, they're not a great moneymaker at all when you take into account that they take so long to grow and they cannot be processed into wine or any other artisan good. And on top of that, even with a base selling price of 3,000 gold, these berries are still considered a neutral gift for all villagers. Plus, you can only buy 1 seed from the cart at a time, so even with seed makers, it's still not a great moneymaker. The actual reason you want to plant at least one of these is because little old Master Cannoli in the woods is searching for the sweetest taste, of course. Bring him a sweet gemberry and you will get a star drop for your troubles, which increases your maximum energy by 34. If it's your first year, by now, you should definitely be a high enough farming level to make yourself some quality sprinklers and just let your farm do its thing. And if you've been frequenting the Skull Caverns for Iridium or checking Krobus's shop in the sewer on Fridays, you should also have access to Iridium sprinklers. Speaking of the Skull Cavern and Iridium, if you want some pointers on how to get the most out of your Skull Cavern runs, you can check out this video, which should be somewhere on the screen or in the description below, for some late game tips and tricks that got me over 1,000 Iridium ore in just one run. So like we mentioned briefly before, fall is easily the most profitable season when it comes to farming. The best crop, hands down, for planting during fall is cranberries. They take just 7 days to grow and then they keep producing every 5 days after that, making for a total of 5 maintenance-free harvests throughout the season if you plant them on the first day. They're also the most expensive fall seed to buy at 240 gold apiece, so if you're running low on money, maybe your best option is either pumpkins or grapes. Pumpkins make slightly more money than grapes but need to be replanted and cost 100 gold each, whereas grapes still make a solid 16 to 17 gold a day. They regrow and they only cost 60 gold. This next one technically isn't a crop, but there are still many reasons to grow it. Fairy rose seeds can be bought from Pierre just like crops, and aside from turning normal honey into fairy rose honey when planted near bee houses, which makes for a nice profit, these flowers are used in late game to make one of the most powerful items in the game, fairy dust. Fairy dust can be used on machines and refining equipment to make them instantly finish whatever they're doing. Before the 1.6 update, crafting was the only way to get fairy dust, but since 1.6 there's actually multiple new ways to obtain this item even before learning the recipe. Still, it can be useful to start stocking up on these fall flowers early on so that you have a nice supply when you eventually unlock the recipe. On the 16th of fall, you have the Stardew Valley Fair to look forward to. There are many different things to do at the fair, and the idea here is to win enough star tokens to purchase items from the store. If it's your first year, you'll be able to buy a whole star drop for 2,000 star tokens and increase your maximum energy, as well as a prize ticket for an additional 1,000 star tokens that can be bought every single year. Aside from that, Pierre's shop also stocks some decorations, a fedora, a rare crow, and a rotating selection of items, including a glowstone ring for 1,000 tokens. Obviously, you'll want to buy the star drop and the prize ticket, but you'll also want to save up enough tokens to get the rare crow, and we'll talk about why in a little bit. The easiest way to get a quick 1,000 tickets is to put on an outstanding Grange display, which is the main event of the fair. You will need to bring 9 items with you for the display, and the more varied the better. Lewis judges each display based on item category diversity and quality. By category, I mean this little tag that appears underneath item names when you hover over them, such as animal products, fish, fruit, minerals, etc. And by quality, I mean normal, silver, gold, and iridium, as well as selling price. Basically, you want to bring along 9 different items of the highest quality and sell price that you can in order to get 1,000 tokens. Even if you don't come first, you will still get tokens for placing second, third, and fourth. And there's also another secret hidden outcome. If you put Mayor Lewis's shorts in your display, he will disqualify you, but he will bribe you with 750 tokens to keep you quiet. Unlike other events, interacting with Lewis afterwards won't send you home, so you can put his shorts up there if you want, have him judge your display, and then go check out the other attractions. Speaking of, let's have a look at what they do. The fishing minigame costs 50 gold to play, and if you do a perfect game, which means catching as many fish as possible during the time allotted and getting perfect catches for more points, you can get over 800 tokens from just one game. The slingshot minigame also costs 50 gold, and it's super fun, with points scored based on accuracy and the color of the target hit. You can get around 500 tokens maximum for a perfect game of this, so it's not quite as profitable as the fishing minigame, but it's more fun in my opinion. The spinning wheel, however, is where the true tokens are at. Some very smart people have done some digging into the game code and figured out that the spinning wheel is almost 3 times more likely to land on green than orange every single time. It also has a chance to speed up and fall on your chosen color depending on your luck level that day, but even without this extra chance, going with green is almost always going to give results. Just don't use all of your tokens in one go. Of course, you can also just buy star tokens from the token seller for 50 gold each if you have the money, or if you have all day long, you can play the Smashing Stone and test your strength for a whopping 1 star token if you hit the top. Fun fact, you also get 1 star token for hitting the minimum strength too. Aside from all that, you can also visit the fortune teller in her tent. For 100 gold, she will give you some information on the 2 NPCs at the top of your friends list, and she'll make some sort of comment on your highest leveled skill. That's about it for the fair, but it is also worth noting that after the fair itself, Halloween pumpkins will spawn outside some of the houses in town, and little lanterns will spawn in the graveyard. If you wanted to be a little menace to society, you could go around and steal every single pumpkin and lantern and keep them on your farm, but surely nobody would do that, right? Right? Speaking of pumpkins, on the night of Fall 27th, you will be invited to celebrate Spirits Eve in Pelican Town. Unlike most other festivals, this one starts at 10 p.m, and the town is inaccessible before the festival starts, so if you have any plans to go to the beach on the 27th, you might want to move them or use a beach totem. Just make sure to keep a farm totem on you for the return trip, or you will be stuck there until 10 p.m. If you're in the late game, you might also have the Return Scepter, which you can buy from Krobus for 2 million gold, that allows you to just teleport home whenever you feel like it, or you might have purchased the community upgrades from Robin and unlocked the shortcut underneath Leah's house. The Spirits Eve festival itself consists of some Halloweeny decorations and themes, as well as Pierre's usual stall where he sells jack-o'-lanterns, the recipe for jack-o'-lanterns, a gravestone, a funky rug, and a rare crow. If you do plan on buying the jack-o'-lantern or the recipe, keep in mind that they will turn into garbage on the first day of winter, so maybe keep them for next year. Also, speaking of rare crows, I haven't mentioned this in previous videos, but if you are aiming for perfection down the road and you want to achieve it without buying perfection slips, buy every single rare crow from every single festival. The reason you want to do this early on is because one of the requirements for perfection is to craft every single craftable recipe, and one of those recipes is a deluxe scarecrow, which is only unlocked after you collect all 8 rare crows, most of which are bought at festivals, so try and snatch them up when you can. The main feature of Spirits Eve is the maze, and just like the rest of festivals, Spirits Eve is different on even and odd years. On odd years, including your first, you will get a basic maze with a golden pumpkin at the end, and on even years, the maze is slightly more complicated and rewards players with prize tickets, redeemable at Lewis's house for some goodies and unique items. The trick to both of these mazes is to find a signpost with a question mark on it. You'll find a secret passage nearby which will eventually lead you to your prize. In previous versions of the game, you had to make your way back through the maze to get out, but since 1.6, we now have a minecart shortcut at the end of the maze to help save some time. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about winter and how to prepare for it. Winter in Stardew Valley might seem like the slowest season with a lack of crops and your animals being forced to stay indoors, but there is actually a lot to do, and there are a few things that you can get done by the end of fall to make your winter easier. We mentioned this briefly in the summer tips video, but you will want to upgrade your barn and your coop to the deluxe version before winter in order to get the auto feeder function. Your animals won't go outside in the winter, so the auto feeder keeps them fed without having to visit them every single day. You might also want to purchase a couple of heaters to have at the ready because just like people, animals get cold during the winter, and having a heater in your coop and barn can keep them happier and regularly producing. This is also a great time to start stocking up on hay so that your auto feeders don't run out. If you have a lot of animals, make sure to get an extra silo or two and either harvest yourself some hay or buy it straight from Marnie. Grass doesn't die during the winter anymore with the 1.6 update, but it does stop growing and it is a lot less likely to produce hay when cut with a scythe. Speaking of upgrades, fall might also be a great time to get a couple of upgrades in on your pickaxe so that when winter rolls around, you have an easier time frequenting the mines. When it comes to crops, if it's your first year, unlocking the greenhouse before winter or at the very least during the first week of winter is highly recommended so that you can keep planting throughout the rest of the year. The greenhouse is pretty straightforward to unlock and can easily be done before winter in year 1 if you keep it in mind. If you're doing the community center, you will need to make sure to grow the necessary crops in each season, as well as have a coop and barn up and running to get animal produce and artisan products for the respective bundles. It's also worth keeping in mind that both the artisan and animal bundles give the player options to choose from, so you can choose to donate the items that suit you best. If you chose the Fruit Bat Cave, this is incredibly helpful for the Artisan bundle because the bats drop all of the tree fruit needed for that particular bundle. If you miss any of the crops, you might have to wait until next year rolls around, or you could also get lucky at the traveling cart and find exactly what you need, but if you stay on top of it, it can definitely be unlocked before winter. Of course, if you're doing the Jojo Mart route, then you can unlock it in no time at all because you basically just have to pay for it and you're good. Speaking of completing the greenhouse, once that's done, you have a 10% chance of getting a random windstorm every single night afterwards, which knocks down the big tree in Cindersap Forest and leaves behind a giant stump. Once the tree falls, you can fix the stump up for 100 hardwood and a friendly raccoon will move in. This raccoon asks you for a bunch of different items before he starts growing his family, and most of his requests involve using some sort of processing machine. So you should definitely work on getting your hands on all of these machines. For example, you can get the recipe for the fish smoker at Willie's and the dehydrator at Pierre's. The raccoon will give you 9 quests in total before his family is finished, and he will keep giving quests after for some pretty good rewards, including the fairy dust that we mentioned earlier. When the raccoon's wife moves in after his first request, she opens up a shop that unlocks more items as you complete the following 8 requests. This last one, again, isn't really a tip, it's more of a very weird special event that's hidden in fall. So in Stardew Valley, you can marry an NPC and you can eventually go on to have children with them. If for whatever reason you get tired of your spouse, you can actually divorce them using this book in Lewis's house for 50,000 gold. However, if you want to go one step further, and this is Dark Urge levels of messed up, if you know, you know, you can turn your children into doves using the Shrine of Selfishness. If you go down this road, there are a few things that can randomly happen around the valley to reflect this change. For example, you might have a telephone in your house and you might receive a chilling phone call, or Very specifically, on fall 26th, you might find a strange channel on the TV that, when chosen, says, "You've brought this upon yourself, now I'm free," and an ancient doll pops out of the TV. If you return to the Shrine of Selfishness after this, you will find a cursed ancient doll hanging around the shrine that attacks you on sight. You can dispatch it pretty easily, but it respawns whenever you enter the hut. And interestingly enough, it counts as a bat when it comes to monster eradication goals and for other quests such as Clint's special order for killing bats. So let's jump right in with the changes that happen in winter. Aside from the change in colors and snow appearing all over the valley, obviously, most crops are ungrowable aside from winter seeds and powder melon seeds. You can also still plant and harvest fiber seeds if you have the recipe, which you get for completing Linus's community cleanup special order. Your bee houses will also stop working, and your farm animals will refuse to go outside and will need a heater to keep them happy indoors. Like we mentioned in previous videos, a deluxe coop and barn are ideal to have by your first winter so you don't have to worry about feeding your animals every morning, just keeping your hay stocked so that they don't run out of food. Since the 1.6 update, grass no longer dies in the winter, but it also doesn't spread and it produces a lot less hay when harvested. So if you need to restock, it's best to go to Marnie's. Normal trees also won't grow during the winter unless fertilized, but fruit trees will still grow as usual. While it may seem like winter is a little bit of a pain with basically everything involving crops coming to a complete standstill, there are actually a couple of benefits to this. The main benefit, if it's your first winter, is that now you will truly have all the time in the world to explore the valley. Tending to your crops, calculating your money to buy seeds from Pierre, and having to visit Pierre's in the first place can take up a lot of time in the early game. But during winter, everything slows down a little bit and you can focus on other aspects of the game. We mentioned before that you can still grow fiber seeds if you've obtained the recipe from the request board in town, which becomes available at the start of fall and gives 2 new quest options every Monday, meaning that you have a total of 8 opportunities to get Linus's community cleanup request, which involves gathering 20 pieces of trash and dumping them in this trash can behind the railroad. But why do you need fiber seeds? Well, fiber is used in a ton of recipes, and while you might think that you have enough after almost a full year of foraging and the Green Rain event in summer, you don't. Fiber is used in over 20 different crafting recipes such as grass starters, warp totems, and a late-game statue unlocked after achieving farming mastery called the Statue of Blessings. This statue gives you a random blessing every day from infinite energy to extra luck, but it requires 999 fiber to make, among ridiculous amounts of other things. So the more you can gather, the better. While you can grow fiber seeds during any season, growing them in the winter just makes sense, especially if it's your first winter and you just unlocked them. You don't have to focus on a million other crops, you can just plop your fiber seeds down in the area you had your crops in the last season and let them do their thing, and they don't even need to be watered. If you've been saving your clay, sap, and mixed seeds, you should be able to make a bunch of fiber seeds for the winter. We also mentioned the fact that trees, aside from fruit trees, won't grow. However, this does not mean that they stop producing seeds. Every single night, fully grown trees planted on your farm have a 15% chance to plop out a seed onto the ground. This is true for every single season. However, during winter, those extra seeds won't be able to keep growing. This means that it is a great time to stock up on each of the 4 main types of seed: acorns, maple seeds, pine cones, and mahogany seeds. While it's great to have a big stock of seeds for planting or making field snacks, you will also want to hold on to them for a recipe that you can unlock after achieving foraging mastery: mystic seeds. To craft 1 mystic seed, you will need 5 of each type of seed that we just mentioned, and they're a pretty good tree to have a few of on your farm. When tapped, they produce mystic syrup, which, aside from having a base selling price of 1,000 gold, it's used to make treasure totems, bluegrass starters, and can also be traded with the raccoons for fairy dust after their 6th request has been fulfilled. So keeping this in mind, make sure to regularly check around the bottom of your trees for fallen seeds. If you're like me, you might have set up some pathing around your tapper farm to avoid annoying saplings sprouting and blocking your path, but it is worth removing the pathing during winter to catch any fallen seeds, as you have all season to pick them up and they won't grow at all. Unless you're planning on growing a bunch of powder melons or winter seeds, you shouldn't really need your watering can at all, unless you're starting to plant in the greenhouse for the first time. If you haven't already, winter is the perfect time to upgrade your watering can as many times as possible in preparation for the next year. Now, like we mentioned before, you can't grow any crops outside in the winter, but that doesn't stop you from growing them inside, either in your greenhouse or in a planter, which you unlock access to and the recipe for after unlocking the greenhouse. If you've chosen to go with the community center and you've been paying attention to your bundles, you should have the greenhouse unlocked by your first winter. And of course, if you've chosen to side with JojaMart, it's a pretty easy purchase to make. If you're curious about the differences between the community center and JojaMart routes, I have a video on that exact topic, which should be on the screen right now or in the description below, where I do a deep dive into the pros and cons of choosing each route. Regardless of the route that you've decided to choose, if you have the greenhouse, you can still continue your crop production, but it is limited to the space available in the greenhouse. It's a good idea to stock up on some of your preferred seeds during the other 3 seasons. For example, if you keep some cranberry seeds from fall, you can plant them in your greenhouse and harvest all throughout winter. Even if you haven't kept seeds, if you have any leftover cranberries or any other type of fruit or vegetable, you can pop them in a seed maker, which is a recipe available at level 9 farming. It's also worth mentioning that you can plant fruit trees inside your greenhouse to save some farm space, and fertilizer placed on tilled soil in the greenhouse never runs out unless you unhoe the ground using a pickaxe. My biggest recommendation for winter and the greenhouse is to get your hands on an ancient seed as soon as possible if you don't have one already, and plop it down in your greenhouse. Ancient fruit are one of the most profitable crops in the entire game. They take 28 days to grow without fertilizer, but they produce fruit every 7 days after, and they never die off if you plant them in the greenhouse. While 1.6 has added new highly lucrative money-making methods, the good old ancient fruit farm and keg method is still as solid as ever. The earlier you start planting these seeds and using the seed maker to create more, the quicker you will be able to get rich down the road. We'll talk a little bit more about how exactly to get an ancient seed here in a minute. While we're on the subject of community center unlocks, you should also be able to unlock access to the quarry during your first winter. Before 1.6, the quarry was kind of an afterthought when it came to gathering ore, at least for me, but with the addition of coal nodes and the fact that more nodes now start to spawn every single year, it's become incredibly worth it. Make sure to stop by the quarry regularly to pick yourself up a little extra ore and some coal. Aside from being a good source of coal, you can also find the quarry mine in this area. This mine is just 1 floor, and if you manage to make it all the way to the end, you'll be rewarded with the golden scythe. This scythe has a longer reach than the normal one, does more damage, and harvests more hay. However, you will want to be wary of nasty enemies in these mines, such as buff skeletons and skeleton mages. These enemies can both drop diamonds and prismatic shards. However, these evil, haunted skulls drop something truly unique. These enemies have a very small chance to drop a unique item called a cursed mannequin. When placed in your house, these cursed mannequins can do a bunch of shenanigans. If you dress them, you might wake up with their clothes on you and vice versa. Sometimes they move around on their own, they can change your flooring and your wallpaper, and they even have a couple of jump scares hidden in their interactions. Fun fact, you can actually cleanse a cursed mannequin by placing it down in the chapel in Pierre's store, and the next day it will have turned back into a normal mannequin again. I'm not gonna lie, it's small things like this that keep me coming back to this game because Concerned Ape is a genius, and this whole cursed mannequin thing doesn't really serve any purpose to the game other than being a really cool Easter egg that you can find. Let's talk a bit about festivals. There are a bunch of festivals during winter, and the first one is the Festival of Ice on the 8th. This is a pretty straightforward festival. There is a bunch of wintry decorations all around, such as ice sculptures, snowmen, and some igloos. The traveling merchant also visits the ice festival and has a lot for sale, mostly involving holiday decorations. If you want to decorate your farm and house for the Feast of the Winter Star, now is the time to grab yourself a bunch of decorations, including a tree of the Winter Star, some festive wallpaper, an icy banner, an icy rug, some festive foods, and a rare crow that looks like a snowman. We've already talked a little bit about rare crows in the last video, but long story short, you'll want to grab all of them if you don't have them already, and you can check out my fall tips video to find out why. The main attraction of this event is the fishing contest, which is as simple as it sounds. Talk to Lewis to get it going and catch at least 5 fish to win. These fishing holes that you're given, by the way, are tiny, so it's best to just tap to fish and then cast your line as short as possible. The type and quality of fish that you catch does not influence the final result. All you have to do is catch 5 fish to win. The first time that you win, you will get some fishing tackles, a magnet, and a sailor's cap, and for consecutive wins, you will get a prize ticket for your troubles. Once the fishing event is over and Lewis announces the winner, you will be sent home at the end of the day like most other festivals. The next festival to take place is Squid Fest, which is similar to the Trout Derby in spring. It's more like a mini festival as shops and houses are still open during the event and you can come and go as you please. It takes place on the 12th and the 13th of winter on the beach and basically involves catching a certain amount of squid for different prizes. Just like with the Trout Derby, I highly recommend bringing along a bait maker and making yourself some squid bait out of the first squid that you catch. You don't have to turn them in, just catch them, so you can use them for bait without your score being affected at all. On the first day, you have to catch a total of 8 squid to receive all of the prizes, with prizes given for 1, 3, 5, and 8 squid caught. And on the second day, you have to catch 10, with prizes received at 2, 5, 7, and 10 squid. The prizes range from bait to fishing-related dishes to mystery boxes and more, with a couple of unique items that you can only get at this event, such as the Squid Kid painting, and one of my personal favourite goofy hats, the Squid Hat. Moving on to the next event, the Night Market. This is one of my favourite festivals and there is so much to do and so much to get your hands on, such as unique items and seeds out of their respective seasons. The Night Market takes place on the 15th, 16th and 17th and starts at 5 PM going until the end of the day, with a couple of the attractions closing earlier than 2 AM. Shops and houses are open during this event and time passes as normal, so make sure to get there at 5 PM sharp to make the most out of the festival. So what exactly is there to do? Well, first off, you can get yourself a free cup of coffee from the Desert Trader, who's set up in this area here, allowing you to move around the festival much faster. You can also talk to the shrouded figure at any time, who will send you back to your farm for 250 gold. This is very useful if you've lost track of time and you need to get back before passing out. The traveling cart that's usually available on Fridays and Sundays is also available on all 3 nights, with its usual randomized stock that is different on each of the 3 nights. This blue boat here sells decorations for your farm, including candy canes. The only other way to get candy canes in the game is to get lucky at the prize machine in the movie theater, which is a late game unlock, so stock up now if you want some cute festive decorations. In this small area over here, you can buy 3 different paintings by famous painter Lupini. He sells a different painting each night, and there are a total of 9 paintings that change over a 3-year period, so make sure to come back each year if you want to get all 9. The mermaid boat is off to one side and it gives players a beautiful mermaid performance upon entering. If you can successfully replicate the tune played in the mermaid show using the clams at the bottom of the stage after the show, you will win yourself a pearl. You don't have to rely on your musical ear though, because if you have found secret note 15, it will tell you the exact order to click the clams in for your reward. Keep in mind that this boat closes at 12:30 and the performance itself lasts almost 2 in-game hours and restarts if you leave in the middle of it, so time it correctly depending on your plans for that night. Speaking of timing, you might also want to check out the fishing submarine. It closes at 11 PM and takes 30 in-game minutes to descend and also 30 in-game minutes to come back up, so it's pretty easy to accidentally spend all night down here. For 1,000 gold, you can go fishing in the submarine and have the chance to catch these 3 unique fish that can only be caught here: the midnight squid, the spookfish, and the adorable, some people may disagree, I think it's adorable, blobfish. Definitely go and catch these if you're aiming for perfection, as catching every fish is one of the requirements. Also, the blobfish can sometimes be a requirement for one of the remixed fish tank bundles. By the way, don't Google blobfish. They don't look quite as cute in real life, but also, apparently, they don't look like that when they're underwater. Random blobfish fact, something to do with pressure makes them look like that when we fish them up. So maybe we shouldn't, maybe just let them be cute underwater, you know? Last but not least, this boat right here sells seeds from each season on each of the 3 days. For those that have access to the greenhouse and are still missing certain crops from the community center bundles, now is the perfect time to grab what you're missing and get a head start on finishing the community center without having to wait until the right season rolls around. You can also buy some unique decorations at this boat that cannot be found anywhere else, such as the stone frog, stone parrot, stone owl, the suit of armor, this piano, and the cone hat. The last festival of the month is the Feast of the Winter Star, which takes place on the 25th of winter. A week before the festival, you will get a letter in the mail telling you that in Pelican Town they basically hold a secret Santa every year for the villagers, and it will include the name of the person that you have to give a gift to. Gifts given during the Feast of the Winter Star are actually worth 5 times more friendship points, meaning that if you were to gift them, for example, a Star Drop tea, you would gain a full 3 hearts just like that. Pierre has his usual store set up here too, where he sells a bunch of different festive decorations, as well as a random stock of 3 items that could potentially help you out of a pickle if you happen to have forgotten your Secret Santa gift at home. Once you've given your gift, your Secret Santa will reveal themselves and give you a present from a very long list of items. The only truly unique item that you can get from a Feast of the Winter Star gift is this tea set. The only other way to obtain this unassuming decoration is for 1 million gold at the traveling cart, starting at year 25. This was added in 1.6, and I'm almost certain that Concerned Ape did it just to make life slightly easier for that one person trying to collect 999 of all stackable items in Stardew. There is one more little secret event to be had in winter, and it actually happens right before the Feast of the Winter Star. On the night of the 24th, many of you might already know that if you sell something, you will see Santa flying across the top of the screen on his sleigh. However, you might not know that if you leave some cookies and any kind of milk out on a table overnight, on the morning of the 25th, they will be replaced by mystery boxes. As far as I can tell, you can only get a maximum of 2 mystery boxes, one for cookies and one for milk, but do let me know in the comments if you've managed to get more. Let's talk about the magnifying glass. When you enter the bus stop area for the first time in your first winter between 6 AM and 4 PM, you will get the following cutscene where a shadow creature gets startled and runs off into town. This will start a quest called a Winter Mystery, and to complete it, all you have to do is follow the footsteps in the snow to this bush and interact with it. You'll get a magnifying glass for your troubles, which goes into this slot here, not into your inventory, and it allows you to start finding secret notes, which will lead you to a bunch of interesting secrets and unique items around the valley. Also, just a reminder that this shadow creature isn't confirmed to be Krobus at any stage, and you do not need to find him in order to access Krobus' shop in the sewers. As long as you've donated 60 items to the museum, you should be able to visit the sewers and Krobus' shop. There is a hidden book in Pelican Town that you might have found before winter, but if you haven't, winter is the best time to find it. As long as you have a steel axe and pickaxe, you can easily find this book. Head to this area behind Clint's and clear out the log and the boulder that are in your way. Follow the path all the way to the back and you will find a golden trash can hidden behind a tree. When interacted with, you will get a book called The Alleyway Buffet, which increases your chances of finding items when searching trash cans by 20%. This will make it much easier to get the trash can catalog as well as the ever-coveted trash can hat. Let's move on and talk a little bit about the mines. Winter is of course one of the best times of year to take on the mines, as well as the Skull Cavern if you have it unlocked. Seeing as the bus repair only requires money to unlock, whether you've chosen the community center or Jojo Mart, I'm going to assume that you have it unlocked by now. Let's start with the mines. The main reason to frequent the mines is to get your hands on resources such as copper, iron, gold, quartz, and even stone. Winter is the best time to do this as you will have entire days free to spend at the mines. In previous videos, we talked about how easy it is to mine for ore, as leaving the mines via the ladder resets them entirely, but the mines during winter is also a great time for leveling up your combat and your mining. Circling back to crops, if you haven't found an ancient seed already, winter is also probably the best possible time to start searching for one, and the mines is one of the best places to go. You can find ancient seeds very rarely in artifact spots in Cindersap Forest and in the mountain area, as well as fishing chests, but the mines is probably your best bet, as bugs, cave flies, and grubs all have a chance to drop them. You can also increase your chances of finding monsters in the mines by taking Monster Musk, a recipe unlocked for completing a special order request from the wizard. Monster Musk increases the amount of monsters that appear on each floor, meaning that if you trawl the upper floors with bugs, flies, and grubs, you should get many more chances to find an ancient seed. If on top of the Monster Musk you also complete the Monster Slayer goal for 500 dust sprites, you will be given a burglar ring, which causes monsters to drop double loot on average. It doesn't just double loot drops, however, it actually rolls twice on the loot table when a monster is slain, meaning that it doubles your chance of finding an ancient seed. And last but not least, the Monster Compendium is a book that you can find from slaying monsters, and when you read it, it increases your chance for double loot by 3%. By combining Monster Musk, the Burglar Ring, and the Monster Compendium, you can greatly increase your chances of finding ancient seeds, as well as other good drops such as prismatic shards. And if you're lucky enough, you might even get 2 from one monster. Don't forget to donate your first ancient seed to the museum so that you can actually make the recipe for them, and if you do find your first ever prismatic shard, don't forget to bring it to this area in Calico Desert to get your hands on a galaxy sword. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Skull Cavern. The Skull Cavern is a lot more dangerous than the mines and it has no elevators, but it is the best source of iridium, prismatic shards, and many other late game resources. If it's your first year, braving the Skull Cavern might seem like a massive task, but trust me when I say that it's worth it. Here are a few things to keep in mind. Firstly, the Skull Cavern is all about time and how you use it. The bus stop opens at 10, meaning that for your first few trips, you will lose some time out of your day, but once you can buy yourself some warp totems from the desert trader for 3 Omni Geodes, you can be there first thing in the morning. Secondly, the deeper you go in the cavern, the more likely you are to find iridium ore, which is the main reason to go there in the first place. Make sure to go with a lot of food on you for healing and use explosive ammo and bombs as much as you can to break rocks instead of your pickaxe. You will drain your energy pretty quickly if you only use your pickaxe, so I recommend having a decent stack of bombs and explosive ammo anytime you go to the Skull Cavern. Thirdly, only go on good luck days and use luck buffs from food when you can. You will find more ladders and holes to skip floors the higher your luck, as well as more treasure rooms. If you're planning on using valuable resources such as bombs and explosive ammo, going on any other day other than a good luck day is honestly a waste in my opinion. You won't make it as far down the mines as you would on a good luck day, costing you more resources in the long run. But what exactly do you want the iridium ore for? Well, there are 2 things that you should be saving for. First of all, upgrading your pickaxe all the way to iridium, and second of all, making a whole lot of crystallariums. Diving into the Skull Cavern becomes a lot easier, more profitable, and less resource heavy when you can duplicate jades and crystallariums and sell them for staircases to the desert trader. If you would like to see a more in-depth late-game guide to the Skull Cavern designed to net you over 1,000 iridium ore in just one run, definitely check out this video over on my channel. And while you're at it, how about a sneaky sub? Just a little subscription as a treat for me, please? Thank you. Winter is a great time for preparing and gathering materials for the next year, especially if it's your first year. While you should be getting a decent amount of stone from your mining adventures and you can take time to go tree chopping around the valley for wood, there is a much easier way to get a lot of wood going into year 2. During your first year, Robin sells wood and stone for 10 and 20 gold respectively. However, starting in year 2, these prices go up to 50 and 100 gold. If you've been making bank during your first year and want to save yourself a little bit of time in your second year, make the most of this price change and get yourself a good stock of wood and or stone from Robin's before she increases her prices.
And that's about it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this compilation of tips and tricks. I will see you in the next video, which will not be a compilation, I promise. And if you're currently asleep, I hope you're having the sweetest of dreams. If you're awake, tell me the weirdest dream that you've ever had in the comments. As always, you can subscribe for more, follow me on Blue Sky for random posts and thoughts, join the community Discord down below to know what's going on, and follow me on Twitch where I also stream a few times a week. Okay, love you, bye! I said it softly so I didn't wake up the sleepers.